Hello friends, my name is Dr. J.S. Chauhan. I'm the course director at Samasti. Samasti is Sehgal Minimal Access Surgery Training Institute. It is the academic and the training wing of the Sehgal Neo Hospital. At Samasti, we are giving training in laparoscopic surgery, hysteroscopy, and upper and lower GI endoscopy. So today I'll be discussing with you about the designing of the laparoscopic instruments. The next instrument which I am going to discuss with you is the needle holder. So we have, first of all, you have to learn how to hold the needle holder. Okay, so you will see that this needle holder is a single action jaw instrument, single action. The single action means that only one jaw is moving, okay, only the upper jaw is moving, the lower jaw is not moving. The needle holder has to hold the needle, rock solid hard. That is why, this is a single action jaw instrument. And if you see the jaw, the serrations on the jaw will also be crisscross. Okay. And maybe you can appreciate, that this is a curved needle holder. And this needle holder has a curve, towards left hand side. You can see that there is a curve here, okay, the jaw is curved, okay. So this is a curved needle holder, okay, needle holder are single action jaw instrument, okay. And the proper way of holding the instrument is like this, okay. There are different type of handles are there, so these three, the middle finger, the ring finger and the little finger, they are used to close the needle holder, and index finger is used to open the needle holder. Okay, this is how, we'll manipulate. This is closed, this is open. Okay, these three fingers are closing and this finger is opening. So this is the curved needle holder. Okay, and what you have to keep in mind is that whenever we are doing suturing knotting, the moving jaw of the needle holder should always be facing up. At no time, we can hold the needle holder like this, when the moving jaw is moving down. Because, the movement, the down movement, will not be noticed by the telescope, because the telescope is looking from above. So from above, we can notice that, the jaw is opening or closing. So this is one, that single action jaw instrument, the moving jaw should be up. Okay, this is the proper way of holding. Three fingers used to close the needle holder and middle and index finger used to open the needle holder. Okay. So now this is again a needle holder, but so this needle holder, the jaw of the needle holder, the tip of the needle holder is a straight needle holder. That was a curved needle holder. Now this is a straight needle holder. Okay. And then there is another needle holder. Okay, so this needle holder, this is an assistant needle holder. Okay, this is also again a single action jaw. Okay, this is the assistant needle holder. While suturing, most of the people, if you do not have to do much suturing knotting, they will need a needle holder either the straight or the curved, and then they will use a assistant needle holder or a Maryland to pull out the needle. Okay, so this is the assistant needle holder. And then, there is another needle holder, which you will see that, this is a special type of needle holder. Okay, and this needle holder, if you can see, okay, so this is a self-aligning needle holder. So this needle holder is such that, whenever you will press the jaw, okay, the needle will be aligning up on its own. Okay. The needle alignment in itself, is a skill which you have to learn, and which can be learned, in a skill lab. So we have already discussed about, how to align the needle. So, little bit, I'll be telling you the difference between the curved needle holder and the straight needle holder. This curved needle holder, which has got a curve towards my left hand side, this I can use in my right hand. Okay. So, some of us, they are left-handed people. So, if someone is left-handed and if he wants to use a curved needle holder, so then that curved needle holder, should have a curve towards right-hand side. Okay. So this needle holder with a curve toward the left, is meant to be used only in the right hand. And if you want to use curved needle holder in the left hand, so that should have a curve towards your right hand side. Okay. But this straight needle holder, it can be used in either hand. It can be used in the right hand. It can also be used in the left hand. Like I'm using it in the left hand. Okay, no problem. Okay, and here I'm using in the right. The only benefit, of the curved needle holder is that if you are doing suturing knotting with ipsilateral ports, okay, and in the ipsilateral ports, the manipulation angle, is 30 degree only. So there, the curve of this needle holder and the curve, of the Maryland, they complement each other. Okay, so then wrap taking, wherever you take a wrap, the wrap taking becomes easy. So this is one advantage. Okay, so ideally, if you have to do a lot of suturing knotting, okay, and if you're using two needle holders, so ideally, and if you're using, in the ipsilateral port position, so you should be using one curved needle holder in your right hand and another curved needle holder in your left hand. So then your suturing knotting will become faster and it will become easier. And, so this straight needle holder, this can be used in either hand. Okay, so these instruments, it cannot be dismantled. So this eye, is meant to do the cleaning. Okay, so we can push some saline, okay, through this inlet. Okay, and this will, clean the shaft inside, so where there are some steel strings are there, which are moving the jaws of the instrument. Okay, and then for maintenance, we have to do some oiling also of this lock and of this hinges, okay, and you have to maintain your instruments well, okay, to make them in a fit condition. So this was about the needle holders. So next instrument which I am going to discuss with you is the scissor. So we have different type of scissors. So this scissor, as you can see, this is a curved scissor. The jaw of this scissor is curved. Okay, this is a curved scissor. Then, we have got the jaw of this scissor is straight scissor. The jaw is straight. Okay. And then we also have what is straight scissor, which is called as a micro scissor. The micro scissor, its jaw is straight, but that micro scissor, so this micro scissor is a single action jaw instrument. So this scissor, as you can see, this is a double action jaw instrument. Both the jaws are moving. The micro scissor, it's a single action jaw instrument. The length of the jaw is also small, and the micro scissor is basically used for adhesiolysis. Whenever the bowel has any adhesions with the omentum or with the parietes. So for doing that adhesiolysis, we have to do it, in a very fine manner. So there we use the micro scissors. And then there is another type of scissor, which is called as a hook scissor. Okay. So this scissor, as you can see, so its jaw is hook scissor. Okay, its jaw is like a hook. I think you can see it like this jaw is a hook. Okay, so this is a hook scissor. Okay, this hook scissor is also a single action jaw instrument scissor. Okay, whenever we are using scissor, okay, the cutting is accomplished in 4 steps. First of all, there is engagement. Whatever we have to cut, it must get engaged, into the jaws of the scissor. You can see that this scissor we use in laparoscopic surgery for cutting peritoneum, or after whenever we have coagulated any vessel, so then we have to cut that. Okay, so then this is also used to cut the sutures. So they are all, small diameter structures, and they can be easily engaged into this. The scissors which the tailor use, it has got a big blades, because they have to cut a big bunch of the cloth. Okay. Similarly, the gardener scissor, the gardener scissors, the blade is very big because they have to cut the branches, okay, and the trunks of the trees. So their blades are very thick. Okay. So the first step is the engagement. Then there is a elastic deformation. Okay. Then there is a plastic deformation, and then there is a shearing. So these are the 4 steps, whenever the scissor work and they cut. Okay. And this scissor which I am holding in my hand, the curved scissor or the straight scissor or the micro scissor, these scissors cut from, proximal to distal. Okay. So whenever I will be cutting, first, the tissue will be cut which is nearer to the hinges, and then it will cut distally. So this cut from, proximal to distal. Okay. This hook scissor, it has got a special mechanism. The hook scissor cuts from distal to proximal. Okay, so this hook scissor is for a much more controlled cutting. And, the one very important use of hook scissor is that if you have to do the percutaneous cholangiogram, okay, so then to put a catheter into the cystic duct, okay, the cystic duct diameter is maybe, the normal diameter may be around 3 to 4 millimeter, okay, or maybe 3 millimeter or 2 millimeter. So we cannot transect it. So we make a nick into that, and through that, we insert one ureteric catheter or any other catheter through which we will inject the dye. So there, we have to do the very controlled cutting, and there it does the cutting from distal to proximal. So I'll just demonstrate you, just by cutting. So here my friend is holding one IV set tubing, okay, and if I have to cut, okay, so I'll engage it first, okay, and then I will try to cut it, okay, and you will see that, it is very tough, it is cut. So you can show the cut, here. So this is not transected, okay, so it is only cut, some length. But if I am trying to cut, with the curved scissor or with the straight scissor, so then I cannot have so much of control. So while I am cutting, if I am exerting pressure, because, so the, 99% chances are that I am going to transect the tissue. So this scissor, cuts from proximal to distal, and the hook scissor cuts from, distal to proximal. And these scissors, as you can see, they have got attachment for the monopolar current. So many surgeons, before cutting, they can use the monopolar, in a coagulation mode, okay, and then they can coagulate, some flimsy structures or some flimsy adhesion, and then they can cut. Okay, we have got a bipolar scissor also, so that I am not having it here to show you. Okay, but so these are the basic things that you must know about the scissors. The next instrument which I am discussing with you, is the suction cannula. In laparoscopic surgery, most of the time, we use a suction cannula. The diameter of the suction cannula is 5 millimeter. But sometimes in bariatric surgery, or sometimes, when there is a much bleeding is there, so then sometimes if the clots are there, so then sometimes we have to use the 10 millimeter cannula also. So these suction cannula, they do both suction as well as irrigation. So if you will see this, so this eye at the back, this is meant for the suction. And this eye, here, this is meant for the irrigation. So, and, so this suction irrigation cannula, it has got trumpet valves. Trumpet, just like musical instruments, this is a trumpet valve. If I'll press this valve, okay, this will do the suctioning. If I will press this valve, this will do the irrigation. So this is suction irrigation cannula, okay, with a trumpet valve. And the other type of valve that we have, is a flap valve. This is a flap valve. So if I'll push the flap valve backwards, okay, so then it will do the suction. If I place the flap valve in the middle, So then it will neither do any suction nor any irrigation, and it will push it forward. So then it will do the irrigation. So this is meant to be attached, with the suction tubing, and this is meant to be attached with the irrigating fluid. Okay. So here, we have to hold it like this. Okay, and using, one of the fingers. Okay, the middle finger, the ring finger, okay, and the thumb, we can operate it. So you have to learn, how to conveniently operate it. Okay. So suction cannula is a very, very versatile instrument. Okay. And besides, using it as a suction irrigation cannula, so this is also used as for the blunt dissection, because, its tip is blunt. So this is used for the blunt dissection, whenever there are adhesions are there. Okay. So, and we think that the adhesions are flimsy, okay, and they do not need to be dissected. So then we can use this, the 5mm cannula for doing the blunt dissection. Okay. The other important thing for using this cannula is that whenever we have to do any suctioning, so then, the tip of the suction cannula should be immersed, in a pool of blood or irrigating fluid, and only then, we have to activate the, suctioning. Because otherwise, if you do any suctioning in the peritoneal cavity, okay, so then within no time, your abdomen will collapse, because, the suction pressure, can be as high as 760 millimeter of the mercury. Okay, over insufflator or preset pressure most of the time is 12 or 15 millimeter. So within no time, most of the pneumoperitoneum will be sucked out. So very cautiously, if you have to do any suctioning, you have to insert this in the pool of blood or pool of irrigating fluid, and then you have to do the suctioning. Okay. And this can also be used, for the blunt dissection. The next instrument which I am going to discuss with you is the clip applicator. So clip applicator, basically they are used to clip the tubular structures. And in tubular structures, come both vascular as well as avascular tubular structures. Like avascular tubular structures will be like cystic duct, and tubular structures will be any vessel, which is almost, 1 to 2 millimeter in diameter, but most of the time, 1 millimeter diameter vessel, like the cystic artery, like the appendicular artery, or any such artery, which is 1 millimeter in diameter. And the clip applicator, this is a double action jaw instrument, okay, and we have different clips are available in the market, okay. So for the pediatric patient, we have got a blue clips, okay, which are called as a LT 100, and then we have got a white clips, okay, which is called as a LT 200, okay. So this is medium large, this is medium in size clip, okay. Then we have got LT 300 clips, these are the medium large clips. So green and the orange or the yellow clips, so they are basically used for the adult patients, okay. So this is LT 300, and these are made up of the titanium, and basically these clips, as I have told you, are used for the tubular structures, cystic duct, cystic appendicular artery, okay. And these clips, they cannot be placed, on the base of the appendix, okay. Or these can also not be used for any large diameter structures, okay. For large diameter structure, there is another instrument is available to us, which is called as a hemolog. So first, let me just discuss with you about the clip applicator. Then I will discuss about the hemolog. So the clip applicators, for the different size clips, different jaws are available. For pediatric patient, different jaws are available. Okay, like this clip applicator has a green rotation knob. So this is used for the LT 300 clips. So how to load the clips? You will hold the clip applicator from the shaft, okay, and then place the cartridge, the clips cartridge on some hard surface, and then just press it down like this. And after pressing, you just lift it up. And then holding it with the shaft itself. So we have to introduce this clip applicator into the abdomen through one 10 millimeter port. Okay, and then for applying the clip, you have to go at right angle to the structure, which you are going to clip. Okay, you have to go at right angle. And then you have to, fire the clip. And after firing the clip, you have to leave it for few seconds and then open up the clip applicator and then either move it down or move it up and then remove it from the structure. Okay, so we'll not remove the clip applicator where we have applied the clip. So either we'll move it down or we'll move it up and then remove the clip applicator. The second clip which you have to apply, must be placed at least 3 millimeter, from the first clip. So how to measure the 3 millimeters? So initially, the closed jaws of the clip applicator, they measure around 3 millimeter. So we'll be applying at a distance of 3 millimeter. So again, go down, okay, and you have to, load the clip applicator, okay, and then again go at a distance of 3 millimeter. So first clip, you have seen that a dumbbell has formed. There is a constriction in the center and there is a dilatation on the other sides, okay. And then at a distance of 3 millimeter, we'll be firing another clip. So whenever, the surgeon is applying a clip, the camera person, has to show both the jaws of the clip applicator, okay, so that, the surgeon knows that where he is applying the clips and inadvertently, he does not apply the clip on any other structure, okay. And similarly, this clips I am applying for doing, suppose, the lap cholecystectomy over the cystic duct. So then the third clip will be applied, at a distance of 6 millimeter from the second clip, okay. One thing you have to see that you do not have to apply the clip obliquely, okay. So it should be at right angle to the tubular structure, whichever you are applying the clip, like this, okay. So the second clip 3 millimeter from the first clip, and the third clip, 6 millimeter from the second clip, and then we can cut from the center. So this is how, we use the clip applicator. And this clip applicator, which has got the rotation knob is, at orange or yellow in color. So this is used for LT400, okay. And this is used for cystic duct, which are around 4 millimeter in size, up to 3 millimeter in size, okay. LT300 for 3 millimeter, LT400 for 4 millimeter. Sometimes, the cystic duct may be, it may be dilated more than 4 millimeters. So then we have to apply the clip applicator in a stepwise manner also. Okay, so that we'll be learning, in the OTs, okay. So then, for bigger diameter vessels, as I was telling you that we have got another, device which is called as a hemolock. So these hemolocks, and this is the cartridge of hemolock. And these hemolock, the hemolocks, they are silicone. And this is the purple cartridge. Okay, we've got a green cartridge. Then we also got a black cartridge. Okay. And so these cartridges, differs with respect to the length of the, the vessel or the diameter of the vessel which we can secure. And as the name suggests, there is a hemolock. So these hemolocks, there is a locking mechanism at one end, just like the cord clamp, which we apply on the cord of the newborn baby, okay. So similarly, here also there is a locking mechanism, and you can see that, there is a special, the jaw is specially made, so this is meant for locking, okay. So these hemolocks, once applied, they cannot slip back, whereas, these clips, so they can slip back, there is a tendency of these clips to slip back. So for larger diameter structures, always we use the larger diameter vessel, we use the hemolocks. So this was regarding the hemolock and the clip applicators. So the next instrument which I am going to discuss with you is a stone holding forceps. So this is a stone holding forceps. So this you can see is a single action jaw instrument. Okay, and this is a cup shaped, okay, on both the side or spoon shaped. Okay, so this is a stone holding forceps. So this is, used both by surgeons and gynecologists. Surgeon normally use it, for if there is a CBT stone, okay, or if the gallbladder is packed with the stones, so sometimes they have to do the cholecystostomy, okay, and then maybe scoop out the stones, okay, so it's used here. The gynecologists use it, for whenever they are operating, on the dermoid cyst. So the dermoid cyst can contain, ectodermal components, like teeth, hair and other things. So with the stone holding forceps, we can retrieve those, the teeth or the hair, etc. And sometime, the dermoid cyst opens up, okay, and all the contents get spilled down. So that spilled contents, they can also be, scooped up, with the stone holding forceps. So the next instrument that I'm going to show you, this is an aspiration needle. So this aspiration needle, as the name suggests, if you're operating on an empyema of the gallbladder or if there's a distended gallbladder, so then, the distended or the empyema of the gallbladder, it cannot be held with any forceps, or there is a mucocele of the gallbladder, okay, so then we can aspirate it out the gallbladder and then we'll be able to hold it, with a semi-traumatic, graspers. So this is the aspiration needle, and this aspiration needle is also used by the gynecologist whenever they are doing the laparoscopic myomectomy, and this can be used to inject the vasopressin, okay, in the uterine wall, okay, to achieve the hemostasis. So this is also a very versatile instrument. So this eye is for aspirating, okay, and the other instrument, this is again a claw forceps. This is a 10 millimeter claw forceps. Okay, you can see that this is a traumatic claw forceps. Okay, this is a 3:4 claw forceps. Okay, and this is very sharp. So this is used for retrieval of the uterus after TLH, and sometimes this can also be used for retrieval of the gallbladder after the cholecystectomy, or rather this is used for cholecystectomy to withdraw to retrieve the gallbladder. So the next instrument is a Myma screw. This is the Myma screw, and the shaft of this instrument is 5 millimeter. And as the name suggests, this instrument is used for doing laparoscopic myomectomy. Okay, so by going through a 5 millimeter port, okay, you have to screw it into the myoma, okay, and then as per the convenience of the surgeon, he can give traction to the myoma, in whatever direction he wants, okay? And according to the dissection in which the dissection plane in which he is proceeding, so he can, move it in the desired direction, okay? Sometimes, for doing TLH, okay, or sometimes, if you're doing a supracervical hysterectomy, and if you're not able to apply the uterine manipulator, so there also, some surgeons, they use the Myma screw, okay, to give traction to the uterus, for doing the, the total laparoscopic hysterectomy. So this is also a very versatile instrument. So we have got a 5 millimeter Myma screw. We also have got a 10 millimeter size Myma screw also. This instrument, this instrument is called as a fan retractor, and most of the time, so this instrument is used to lift up, the lobe of the liver. And suppose if you have already done any cholecystectomy and gallbladder is not there, to push the liver up, okay, so then sometimes, and if there is any bile duct injury, so then this can be used. There are other retractors also, the Cook retractor, which can be used to lift up the left lobe of the liver. Sometimes if the bowel is also coming too much, in your field of surgery, so then to retract bowel also we can use this fan retractor. Sometimes the omentum or the bowel, it can get entangled into the fans of this fan retractor, and it may be difficult to close it. So that problem can sometime arise, and you have to be very careful that nothing gets entangled into these fans. So this is also 5 millimeter diameter instrument, and this can also be introduced in the abdomen through a 5 millimeter port. The next instrument which I'm going to discuss with you are the instruments which are used with the energy sources. So first I am going to discuss with you about the instrument which we are using with the monopolar current or with of the radio frequency generator. As all of you know that monopolar current is used both for cutting as well as for coagulation. Okay, and for cutting, we have to keep the monopolar setting in a pure cut mode, and for doing the coagulation, we have to change the setting of the monopolar to blend mode. Okay, and we'll be learning what is a pure cut mode and what are the different blend modes. Okay, so the instrument which we use for cutting is a L hook. Okay, so you can see that the tip of this is bent like a L. Okay, and this is the tip. Okay, and this is got a thinnest diameter. Okay, and whenever we have to do any cutting, like if the gynecologist, if they are doing TLH, okay, using the monopolar current, so then they have to do the colpotomy from this tip. Okay, similarly the surgeons, if you're doing any CBD exploration, okay, and if you have to, after cleaning the anterior surface of the CBD, if you have to cut open it, so then also, the surgeon will be using the tip, okay. And similarly for doing cholecystectomy also, okay, if the surgeon has to, dissect the peritoneal folds, the thick walled gallbladder or of a chronic cholecystitis, so then also, we'll be using this hook. So at the hook, the current density is the maximum. So whatever current we are using, the maximum density will be at the tip, and that is why, it is used for the cutting. And then the heel of the hook is also used for doing dissection, okay. Whenever we have to dissect the gallbladder, from the liver bed, so we can use this heel of the hook also, okay. And as you can see that, all the instrument which we are connecting with the monopolar cable, so their attachment is like this, okay. So this attachment is like this. And then the next instrument, which we use with the monopolar current is a spatula. This is a spatula. So this spatula, basically, this is used for fulguration and for spray, which is a non-contact coagulation with the monopolar mode. So if you're using it for fulguration and spray, so then we'll be using this, this spatulated part of this instrument, which is called as a spatula. And if you have to cut, if you are dissecting the gallbladder from the liver bed, so then you can cut it, by the side, okay, because the surface area of the side is less. So then some surgeons, use it for cutting the peritoneal folds of the gallbladder, so while dissecting it from the cystic plate. And for, any raw surface which is oozing, if you have to do the fulguration, so then we'll be using, this flat surface of the spatula. Okay, so this is also used, with the monopolar current, with the monopolar cable. And the third instrument, which we use, with the monopolar cable is this tritome. Okay, this is a tritome. So we can connect the monopolar cable here. And this is the, okay, this is the tritome, the needle, okay. So this is a very, very sharp needle. Okay, so this is basically used for doing the ovarian drilling. And this tritome, the tip is even sharper than the, L hook. And, so this can be controlled also, okay. And, whenever if there is an unruptured ectopic pregnancy, okay, and, if you have to do the salpingostomy, okay, for removing the unruptured ectopic pregnancy, so then there also we use this, tritome, okay, and this is also used for the ovarian drilling. So these are the three instruments which we use with the monopolar current. And then, this is a bipolar forceps, and you can see, that, the cable of the bipolar, gets connected here, and this is just like two plates, because in the bipolar the current is flowing only in between the two jaws. So these two plates also represent, the positive negative. So the, whenever you are connecting the bipolar cable, you can connect it only to the bipolar instrument, and whenever you're connecting the monopolar cable you can only connect it to the monopolar instruments. Okay, even by force you cannot do it wrong. Okay, so you must be very clear that most of the time these monopolar and bipolar cable, they are their insulation is also colored separately. Okay, and this is the jaw. And this is the jaw of the the bipolar forceps. Okay, and you can see the hinges. They are made up of the plastic. The hinges are not made up of the metal. Because the current is flowing in both these jaws. Okay, and if the current is not flowing in different circuits, so then there can be a short circuiting. So to prevent the short circuiting, okay, so these hinges, they are made of the plastic or any insulating material, and the jaw is also, it has got a serrations are very fine. So it is just like a atraumatic grasper. So whenever you're doing the TLH, okay, and if you have to coagulate and cut, okay, the fallopian tube, the ovarian ligament or the round ligament, you will first coagulate, okay, and for coagulation, we have already discussed, you have to coagulate at 3 places, in the center and on either side, and then we'll be cutting in the center, okay. So this is a bipolar forceps, okay, and I've told you when I was discussing with you about the Maryland, we have got a bipolar Maryland also, okay. So this instrument is used with the bipolar cable, okay, for coagulation. So this hand instrument, this is a hand probe of the harmonic. So harmonic is also a energy source. So we'll be discussing in detail about the harmonic also. Okay, again this instrument, this is a single action jaw. Okay, one jaw is fixed and other is moving. The jaw which is fixed, okay, so this is a thin jaw. Okay, so you can see that this vibrates, and this vibrates in backward and forward direction, and the other jaw, it has got a silicon padding on it. Okay, so this silicon padding is used to prevent the vibrations to go across the structure. Okay, so the vibration will be stopped there or captured here. Okay, and then there is a rotation knob. Okay, and then so this harmonic, so you can control, this is a hand controlled instrument, and then you can control, whenever you're using by using the foot pedal also. So both, the foot pedal and the hand activation, both is possible. So this is, the pedal, okay, and here, so this is the grip. So you have to hold the tissue in the, this is how, you can open and close the jaw of the instrument, okay. And then before using it, we have to connect it to the, this is the transducer, okay. So you have to screw it in. So this has to be screwed in, okay. So when you have screwed it tightly, so then you have to further do the, there is a tightener, okay, and you have to tighten it 2 times, okay, and then you will remove the tightener, and now you will connect the cable to the generator of the harmonic, okay, and then we will test it, and then we'll be using it. So this is the harmonic probe, okay. So the another instrument which we use, for the energy sources is the ligashore, okay. So this is the handle of the ligashore, okay. So this is made up of the Covidien company, okay. And to close the jaw, so we have to close it 1 time, okay. There is a click. Again, if you have to open the jaw, then again we'll be pressing it, and this will open the jaw, okay. So this is for closing, and again close it, and it will open the jaw, okay. And this trigger, after we have coagulated, okay, because the ligashore, as all of you know, this is an intelligent bipolar. After the coagulation has been done, okay, when the alarm stops, okay, and we have to press this trigger, okay. So this will advance one blade, okay, and it will cut the tissue, okay. And this is where, we have to activate the instrument, okay. So we have to press it, and as long as, the water is getting desiccated, there will be alarm. As soon as the alarm stops, this means that all the water has been desiccated, and then we can cut it. Okay, this is for. And then, so this is the jaw. Okay, so this is the jaw of the ligashore, and this is a 5 millimeter size diameter instrument. Okay, and so just like, bipolar forceps, okay, so the current flows in between the jaws. Okay, and, the lateral thermal spread, with the ligashore also is minimum. Okay, why? Because most of the heat is contained or it's retained, within the jaws. Okay, and the length of this instrument is 37 centimeters, as you can see, and this is a 5 millimeter size instrument. Okay, and this is the jaw is closed. Okay, again if you have to open, press it one more time, and then you can open it. And then, we have to connect the cable to the generator, okay, of the ligashore machine, and we don't have to do any setting. Okay, so this does all the setting on its own. So this is an intelligent bipolar. This is a ligashore. So this instrument, this is a uterine manipulator, and the name of this uterine manipulator is a modified Clermont and Ferrand uterine manipulator, and some people also know this, as a Mangishkar uterine manipulator. And this uterine manipulator is used by the gynecologist, for doing total laparoscopic hysterectomy. Okay, and this is a very versatile instrument. Okay, it has got different components are there. Okay, so this is a Colpotomizer cup is there. Okay, and which is detachable. Okay, so these Colpotomizer cup, they come in different sizes. So before starting the surgery, so you can have an idea about the diameter of the cervix, and then accordingly you can choose the cup size of the Colpotomizer. Okay, so these are the cups for the Colpotomizer, and then these are the endometrial probes. So this is according to the length of the endometrial cavity. Okay, so depending upon, you will do the sounding of the ureter of the uterus, and then accordingly, you will choose one of these endometrial probe sizes. Okay, and this shaft, this is lockable. Okay, so this for cleaning purposes another thing, you can remove the shaft, from this handle, and then depending upon the size of the patient, you can lock it also here wherever you find it convenient. Okay, so then this can also be locked. Okay, so we have to screw in this. Okay, and then we have to put this endometrial probe. Okay, and then there is one tenaculum is there. So this is the tenaculum. This can be, this is the tenaculum. Okay, so the anterior and the posterior tip of the cervix, so it can be held, very hard, by using this tenaculum. So this will pierce into the anterior and posterior lip of the cervix, and this will be steadying the uterus. Okay. So after holding it, okay, so then, depending upon, what traction the gynecologist need, okay, we can do the anteversion, okay, we can do the retroversion, we can move the uterine manipulator left and right, for the, pedicles on the left and the right side, okay. And then after you have done the hysterectomy, so then the specimen can be retrieved, along with this uterine manipulator. And there are silicone flaps also placed over here. So these silicone flaps, so they will prevent any, the leakage of the pneumoperitoneum. So this is a very, very versatile instrument, and all the gynecologists must learn how to use it. Thank you very much for listening to this discussion on the various instruments, the instrument which were used for creating pneumoperitoneum, the excess instruments, the various ports, okay, and then various hand instruments, and also, the how to dismantle, how to maintain the reusable instruments, and all the instrument, which we use with the energy sources, with the monopolar, bipolar, okay, the different type of retractors I have discussed with you. I have also discussed with you about the uterine manipulators. So beside these also, there are so many other instruments, which are needed in special circumstances, like the Cook's retractor, when I'm doing the sleep mastectomy, okay, that is a self-retaining retractor, okay. So then there is a Netheson's retractor is there, okay, and then some simple uterine manipulators are also there, okay. And beside these, we also have got a laparoscopic right angle forceps, laparoscopic Babcocks, okay. Then you have got a tenaculums also, which are used in the laparoscopic surgery. So all these instruments, they are there for use in the laparoscopic surgery. But the most commonly used instruments, I've tried to discuss it with you. So I hope that this class will be of help to you, will be useful to you, okay? How to hold the instrument, how to use the instrument, in which situation, which instrument to be used, okay? So thank you very much once again.